serious. Jackets off now, man.
Nah, man.
No dialing back now.
Yeah.
Rafael Silva, welcome to the party.
Thank you. I just witnessed the hurricane that just passed by. It was
wasn't that, I mean, yeah.
It was phenomenal. It was phenomenal.
If she wanted to inflict some damage, you know that she could. Brief introduction. So Rafael Silva is an actor. He currently appears on the Fox primetime show 911 Lone Star. We can talk more about that shortly. But Rafael Silva, thank you so much for being here. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. You're doing a great job. I'm loving it.
Oh, good. Thanks. I'm glad you were able to watch some before.
Oh, yeah.
So the first thing I want to ask you is, you're on this show, 911 Lone Star.
Yeah.
And it is, first of all, great TV. I have watched every episode and I love it. But it happens to be this incredibly diverse cast. Like you kind of hit the lottery in terms of being able to be part of a story and a cast and an ensemble that I think is rare and enviable for that reason. What does it mean to you to be part? Do you want to just describe the cast of characters and the cast of actors playing those characters and talk about what that means to you to be a part of it?
Sure, yeah. So the characters that exist are, we have Paul Strickland. He is an African-American trans male. We have a Muslim woman as a firefighter. They're both firefighters. We have a biracial couple. That would be Judd Ryder and Grace Ryder, played by Jim Perrick and Sierra McLean. We have a gay firefighter that would be played by Ronan Rubenstein. We have a gay Latino cop, which is played by me, Rafael Silva, Carlos Reyes. So, I mean, yeah. And, so, yeah, I mean, that's like a lot of the diversity in the cast and, all the primary characters. But the follow-up question would be, what does it mean to me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because,
okay.
There's so many TV shows, especially like primetime network shows that are pretty dry in terms of cast and characters. And like for your first kind of, big roll out of the gate, does it feel significant to you, or does it just feel like work? It should all feel like this.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's fun. I actually never thought about this. For me, I actually never thought about this. Because usually when I'm watching a TV show or any movie, I'm immediately drawn to the diversity of the cast, immediately drawn to, relationships. How is this moving forward? It's got to be, it can't be stagnant. It's got to be progressive, Yeah. Already zoom out, clock out of a show, just switch channels if there isn't any diversity. So thanks for asking the question, because I actually never thought about it. It means a lot, and it gets me motivated and gives me confidence to do my job, to show up on set, because I know the set will look like me. The set will look as beautiful as everybody can be. When you show up to a set and you're the perhaps only person, you could be Asian, African American, Latino, Pacific Islander, you could be Native American, you could be Hawaiian, when you show up to set, and because this is my first job, I'm taking this as a role model for future jobs. And I guess I'm basing everything off of this first encounter that I've been exposed to. I mean, for me, this is just a standard that it should be. It's the standard, but also like, it's just like,
that's awesome.
All these people exist. Like, in what world do you walk outside and not see?
Would it not be like this? Yes.
Yeah. And recognizing how fortunate I am that my first experience in a show is like this. I mean, I'm very fortunate, very privileged to have this experience. So honestly, I feel like it can also be a mentality every time you go on set. You can either make it about work. You can make it about feeling at home. You can make it about a moment of concentration and paying tribute to the character, portraying the character as best as you can. I try to incorporate all of those. Yeah. But at the same time, there is only so much I can do by myself to get myself there. I thank you so much for asking this question. Now I'm now realizing that I have never felt left out, and look at me. I have a very, I've been called passing, I've been, I'm not the most, when you look at a crowd, I mean, you can kind of point me out, I guess, but I've never felt left out, on set due to my complexion, which I think it's pretty fucking nice. It's the standard. That's what it should be.
And I really love that the position you're in allowed you to not even have to notice that until now. Like, that's a really amazing place to begin a career. And I think a lot of people who've been doing this for decades would be very heartened to hear that somebody could enter at this point and feel like, yeah, this is just how it obviously fucking should be. Pardon my French. So a little bit about Rafael Silva the man. So you were born in Brazil and you came here as a kid, as a wee tyke. Well, not a wee tyke, a middle-sized tyke, right? Oh, did I lose you?
Yeah. I came here. Sorry,
back.
The audio kind of paused. I don't know. Yeah, are we there?
That's okay. You looked contemplative for a second, so I was like, oh, maybe he's just really thinking about this.
No. Okay, so we're in sync right now.
Great. Beautiful.
Yeah, okay.
Let us stay that way. Let us stay in sync.
Yes.
So you came here from Brazil as a kid, and you've been here since then.
Yeah.
So
it's actually, I left Brazil when I was 13, and this is my 13th year in America. So I'm half and half. Yeah.
Wow, that is really significant. Yeah. You've been here as long as you were there. What is that? Yeah. What does that feel like to you?
I guess I'm not trying to judge the question so I don't go a route that I might not understand, but honestly, it doesn't really mean anything in terms of significance of like, do I question where I'm from? Do I feel more American? Do I feel more, I feel, I hold those two nationalities differently. I have different relationships with both of them. Just another day. I don't know. I don't really focus on like, I guess I haven't ever really focused on that.
No, I mean, I think that's awesome. It just speaks to how present you are in your life. I know when I hit the point where I had lived in New York for as many years as I grew up in Nebraska, for some reason that was a huge deal to me. That's like not that significant of a difference, all things considered, but I was like, oh my God, I'm as New Yorker as I am Nebraskan now. Oh my God, I'll never be the same. But you're just like, I drink my coffee, I do my thing. It's really not that big of a deal. Seems like a healthy stance. And I know that there were, I know that we talked before and you had some things you were excited to talk about regarding like kind of the way you found of connecting with cultures here as you began to like grow up and kind of find your way around and study up on the history and everything. I wondered if you just wanted to sort of dive into that.
Yeah. So when I first came to America, I didn't know English, right? And and going to ESL classes and just going to school. So I moved here and I was in middle school. And I guess the way that I found, so there was a lot of insecurity, a lot of fear, a lot of confusion, a lot of like, what the hell is going on? This is so different. I don't know what the fuck is going on. And just naturally, a way that I found, the first thing that I said in my mind is just like, okay, and 13 years old, perhaps not consciously, but I guess it just came to my mind. It was just like, Okay, the first thing that I need to do is learn English, because when you learn English, you understand what people are saying. And if you can't understand what people are saying, you can communicate with them. And naturally, when you communicate with them, you understand where they're coming from, and you understand just, you just learn to communicate. You learn their culture, you learn traditions, you learn everything that composes them. So what I did was, I moved here and I was in 7th grade. I sat down with a history book, and I just opened a chapter, random ass chapter, and I took out my notebook and a pencil, and I started writing each paragraph 3 times and reading it out loud and over pronouncing words, just so I could learn to speak, right? So I could mouth these words, and I don't care how they sounded, I just needed to do it. Train the muscles in my body to just get this thing out, right? Because when you're learning a new language, you know what you want to say, and it comes out here, but as soon as this opens, fuck it, forget it. It just doesn't, right? And then there's other people looking at you, they, you know, and this is also 2007, which is, I guess, progressive. But at the same time, it was I moved to, well, 2008, that was a huge deal.
Better,
yeah. But I also moved to a very Hispanic community, you know, a very Latino community. So there were a lot of Latino kids, but I didn't really know what that meant. So there was still a lot of, I felt very claustrophobic because I felt like I could not express myself. So I would just sit down with history books and just memorize dates and memorize events and memorize names of people, names of places, and all of that. And eventually I just started, you know, developing this I wouldn't say love, but this attraction to just history itself. And which kind of just naturally got me going into just the interest to do this. If this just uncovering, like, what, like, there's more under here, there's more under there. And that kind of subsided high school. But when it came to college, and at the end of college, I picked up a book called Lies My Teacher Told Me by James Lowen. And I just started reading because I thought it was something. Lies My Teacher Told Me How. That's fine, because now I'm going to get back to my teachers. I had this fantasy that I would go back to high school and just say, hey, you didn't get this right, so whatever. Yeah. And so I got to chapter 4, which is called Red Eyes. And Red Eyes refer to Native American history and how we really don't know anything. And the book itself was commentating on how the American school system teaches history and why kids naturally just zone out in history class, right? I think that history is, the way I view it is, it's just a study of relationships. It's the study of human relationship to another being, to another place, another thing. As an actor, that's fascinating as fuck, because in my job, to make my job more specific and better, I need to build relationships with everything that I have. Yeah. Everything, my house, my people, this fucking chair, everything. Because it all means something. And I also, Rafael, I need to know what things mean for it to have quality. I'm a very qualitative person. If there isn't quality, move, you know? So why is it that history is so boring? Why do we find it boring? And reading this book, Lies My Teacher Told Me, it wasn't necessarily about the kids being bored. It's the way that it's taught. And I must say this. I am not an expert on this. This is simply my experience, and this is my opinion. And I am not commentating on teachers, how people teach. This is not. I really hope that I don't offend anyone, and I really hope that I'm self-aware enough to catch perhaps an ignorant point of view before I say it. But if I don't, forgive me.
Well, I'll just jump in and say, I think
yeah.
even really brilliant teachers would acknowledge that the state of education in the country and the way teachers are expected to conform their lessons really is lacking in a lot of departments. So, I mean, I think it's a fair criticism.
Yeah. And what fascinated me about this book, which just, right, why am I speaking about it? Because I feel like it's legitimate enough for just people my age that you can actually, you know, in the current state that this world is in, you can do your part. Just internally, which is, you know, people are like, we need to educate ourselves. Okay, how, where, when, what are the resources? I don't know. So I guess this is, I get a tip for whoever is looking to educate oneself. Reading this book, it comments on how American schools are taught and what types of books are utilized. So this author gathers over 100 American history books that are taught in high schools all throughout America. And they're all fucking different because they all teach something different. And every history book has, and this, he points this so keenly, which is every history book that he reads has this monotone, inevitably progressive way to word things, which naturally justifies whatever happens in the past, whatever happened in the past, as okay because it got us to where we are today. So, not to mention that if you read extensive Native American history, it was a mass genocide. The greatness that we call America today, and I'm very cautious to speak about this because once an immigrant, I feel like always an immigrant, and there's this constant you said before, imposter syndrome, right? It's just like, should I say this because I'm not American? Should I say this because I wasn't born here? Should I say this? You know, there's this constant ringing in one's mind when you're at least, I feel like when you're not, you need to give yourself permission to speak of these things. And this is my 13th year here, so I'm giving myself permission. There's just you know, this country is based on this is the biggest fucking grave in the world. This is the biggest, this country is the biggest fucking grave in the world. The way that, and once again, I'm not an expert on Native American studies. This is just my experience, but you can go outside and you can ask any citizen just walking out here, tell me what you know about Native American history. How many of them will tell you something of solid ground, legitimate enough, that is just not like, well, there's Cherokee, there's Standing Rock and Sitting Bull, there's, their tribes, and blah, blah. And it's not ever, I mean, there's this point of view that, that Native Americans are this exotic American relic that belongs in the past. And if Native Americans dare to integrate into the modern society, it threatens our romantic point of view of them, which naturally threatens which kind of makes us question, makes us question their legitimacy, to misquote General Sheridan a little bit, and this is from the book, The Earth Shall Weep by James Wilson. He's famous for saying the only good Indian is the dead Indian, right? But the only good Indian is the dead or dying Indian, right? So why am I saying all this? Is because I became fascinated just picking up that book and chapter 4, Red Eyes. I was just like, how the fuck I feel like this should be front page of like newspaper. Yeah. Can we talk about this? Because this answers a lot of the problems that we're having today. We're still living the side effects of the first encounter. in the fifth, you know, in the 15th century, you know, 14th century, and
you know,
yeah.
Oh, sorry. I'm only jumping in because we only have a couple minutes before Instagram is going to cut us off. But I want to say, I'm glad you are. I think it's fascinating to hear that you arriving here at 13, and it took you a few years to sort of acclimate and start doing your own educating. And then one of the first things you found is, oh my God, nobody taught me about like this country's real history. And the real history is that white people came here and committed a mass genocide. And that is, of course, true.
Who are the people telling the story?
Well,
who are the people writing these books?
And today, the ramifications, like today, right now, literally right now, are incredibly relevant, right? It's not history because right now, some of the worst COVID-19 rates are in the Navajo Nation. Communities that are being disenfranchised that want some of the highest rates in elections are Native Americans on the North Dakota tribal reservations or around. If you look at maps of there are amazing maps you can find online that compare the margin of victory for Donald Trump in 2016 versus the native population of that state. And the native population is greater, sometimes in Alaska, up to a factor of 10. So it's a community that we as a country have a terrible contemporary relationship with, and have done a lot to make it worse over time and not address any of the harms we've done. We have one guest coming up later on who will be able to speak a little bit about some of this stuff, but I don't want to burden her with talking about it too much. But yeah, no, I think it's really informative to me that somebody who arrives here isn't taught this and has to find out themselves, and then it feels a little betraying to learn that this is actually what's going on here, and that original sin of this country's colonizing, you know, travels through to modern day, and it will until we start listening to those communities and bring those concerns into the voting booth. That's it. That's all we can do.
It's honestly just a awakening that honestly everyone here is an immigrant. Except the Native Americans, and that's
exactly
it's just
right.
Could go on for days, days and days and days.
And listen, anytime you want to make a date to go on for days about this, let's do that. Let's invite some other people into the conversation too, because this is we can't talk about it too much. This really matters.
Oh yeah.
Rafael Silva, thank you for.
Thank you so much,
today.
Brian. Keep going. You're awesome. All right. I'm loving it.
You are amazing.
Next step is that
I love
best.
you.
I love you too. Take care, Brian.
Take care. I'll see you around the world.
Oh yeah. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Y'all. Okay. We only have 1 minute and 15 seconds before we're about to have to take a forced station break. So I just want to say thank you to Alicia Weigel and Rafael Silva for being game to come and talk about life, the universe, and everything. You're both amazing.